we're going to chat about how to automate some tedious design work. So let's just get into it. First, I'll show you what I was doing manually and then why I even decided to automate it. So I've got this part here. My plan was to turn this into a magnet. The way that I would do this is right click, add negative part, add a cylinder, type in the size you need. There's a lot of clicking around and button presses. And if you're trying to build up a product catalog or you're trying to make a bunch of these, not only is it using up a lot of time, but I know the process, so I know what to do. But if I wanted someone else to do this, I would have to teach them, which takes time, and they would have to remember it. And it's just this whole process to make quite a simple part. So we had the idea of making a few of these magnets, and I wanted my partner to do this. And my partner is not the most technical, but she does understand the basics of printing and design. But the way that we automated this whole process is by using the current process. Once we've got our image, I made this HTML website. It's sort of like my own software. And now all I need to do is grab my image, drag it in, and click generate magnet. It takes a few seconds, and then it'll output a 3MF that I can then download and drag right into Bamboo. And the magnet is positioned in there where I want it. The colors are set, and it's done that quick. So this means I can make many magnets like probably 5-10 times quicker. So how did I do this? Number one is the converting image to SVG. Now we have covered this as a few ways of doing it. I went the GPT route, which involved having a prompt, having a reference, what I want my image to look like, and then the target image, which I want to transform. So I have all of these in a folder, and you can upload them straight into ChatGPT without typing a word. You've got the prompt done. That should apply to every single one you're doing. You've got the reference, which doesn't change. And then the only one that changes is the target. So this could be a customer input. Maybe they upload it to your website or something like that. And then you just upload this to ChatGPT, and then it outputs an image. Now you can do this in other few ways, Inkscape, blah, blah, blah. But this is the way that I decided to approach it. Now, this is the prompts in case you want to copy it, but you can ask your AI to write it for you. I'm not going to go into details there on that. So I showed you converting image to SVG, assigning colors, inputting negative parts. It can take about 5 minutes per part. And then now I've sped it up to only about 2 actions and 30 seconds. So let's get to the meat of this. How do we actually set this up? Now, you will need Claude Code for this method. And the host for my Claude Code is VS Code. I just think it's a nice clean OS for it. So I'll show you what this looks like in a sec. And then from there, that's all you need, because you can ask Claude to download everything else for you, including Blender. Then Claude will also install and download a bunch of other things like Python and all these things, which honestly, I don't even really know what a lot of them are, but they're just sort of code software files that your computer needs. And once you've got that set up, you can place your images in. This is VS Code here. And once you've got it set up nice, all you need to do is type in Claude. And then this is like your ChatGPT or your Claude chat, but on steroids. Claude Code is really like your coding assistant. It's like having an employee who's amazing at coding, and you just tell them what to do. So that's how you get started. And I'll show you the next few steps here. So once we've got that all set up, the first design goal is to build the Blender pipeline. Now, this sounds complicated, but you're just telling your Claude Code employee what to do. You don't have to actually know the technical parts of it, but you do need to understand your goal really clearly. So what I told it was I want to turn a flat cartoon PNG into a 6mm thick magnet. I want it to be print ready for a multicolor printer and output a 3MF file. And I want it to be done in Blender. I just said design the pipeline, and it gets started. So you would just type that into, I want to design Blender pipeline, blah, blah, blah. What you can do is use Shift Tab and have it on auto mode, because it'll slow you down otherwise. So it can iterate by itself if you have the auto mode on. And you need to get the requirements right. So I'm using a 10mm magnet, and it's a 10 by 2. So I've added a bit of a tolerance there. Claude doesn't know that you need a tolerance unless you tell it. And I wanted a certain gap so that the magnet feels strong. If you increase this distance, the magnet will be weaker. So essentially, once you have your requirements in there, you can then get it to test and iterate for you. It probably took about maybe 3 hours of Claude just essentially testing and doing experiments by itself and going, oh no, that's not right, I'll keep doing it. And I didn't really have to do that much. So one of the problems that I ran into were thin black details of the lines and outlines. So this is the print here, and these have quite thick black lines, but at the start, the lines were really thin. So I went into Claude and I typed in the black outline too thin. Now, if you just send that, it's going to thicken them up to something it believes is good. But we want to be more specific. So we want to say we are using a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. So the smallest lines should be greater than 0.45 millimeters. And then it then starts to gather and understand your problem better, because it's an amazing tool, but it can't read your mind. So this is the start of how you build your Blender pipeline. It's one of those things you'll learn more by doing it. And this is just a nice way to give you a bit of a push in the right direction and how to start. So once the pipeline works, you'll start to get the right output and you'll go, oh, wow, it actually worked. It'll spit out the file for you in your file explorer. But now the next problem for me was, okay, that's great. It works, but teaching my partner how to use Claude Code is now a whole other thing. And it's not that hard, but well, maybe for me, but if you never use it, it might feel a bit overwhelming. So I go, okay, let's wrap it up in a local web app where all you have to do is just click 1 or 2 buttons. Yay, it works. Now let's make it easy for a beginner to use. And then, create a web app that only requires 1 click. And then you send that through and it'll start to build something. And this was really quick, actually. It'll produce a locally run server. And then the second step of that is you want it to be easy to open the server. So for me, that's just 1 file on my desktop. It says, click here to start. And then once you do that, it'll build your magnet tool. And this is really just the beginning of what you can do with it, because from here, you can see the next one coming. I want to generate a bag tag. That's the exact same design. The only difference would be that the hole is positioned in a different location and it goes all the way through the part. So you can start to build upon this. If you want to do another one, you can click on, maybe you want to bring that in, generate, and you could even expand this to start to batch more. So if you want to do 50 at once, you get all the images ready, then you bring them all in and then it can batch it for you. Another, if you wanted to fully automate this even to the next level, is you could connect this entire pipeline to an API. Because if you remembered, our first step earlier was manually going into ChatGPT and going, this is my prompt, this is my reference, this is my target, output. Okay, let's do that again. That's easy enough for my partner or a beginner to do. Bring another image in, do it again, bring another image in, do it again. You can see even me telling you about it, it's repetitive. So you could connect your entire pipeline to where all you would need is just to have the input target image in the file. You could have 100 of them. And then you could go through and say, okay, Claude, connect to my API, run it through, and then it could go through the first step, which is the vectorization pipeline. And then it could then run through the Blender pipeline. And then the next step after that is even automatically send it to the printer. And all you need is just a customer to upload a file into your website. So hopefully I've just scratched the surface there for you guys of how to start to use Claude Code with your tedious design work to eliminate any of that repetitive work that is boring and actually open up more of your time for the work that's important.